Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F122 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day, fresh off of a big win in Canada, keeping our championship hopes alive. And now we're headed into Britain, where we also had some breaking news that Robert Shwartzman, following his crash in the last episode in Canada, is being delivered 3 penalty points to his driver license. Not a race ban this time, but here we are headed into this British Grand Prix weekend. We also have, Belgium coming up after Britain. Then we have Italy, Mexico, and Brazil to wrap up the season. So a season finale in Brazil is going to be nice here to see myself getting some laps here in practice. And F123 driver career mode right around the corner, and I'm so excited, especially because we have, a 24 race season, or is it 23? I can't remember, but we have the new tracks with Las Vegas, which honestly doesn't look that great in my opinion. But then you have Qatar, which doesn't look that great, but it looks fun to drive, so I'll be curious to see how it is. But you can see us here in practice. This was free practice 3 that I had actually made my laps in here on a soft compound tire. And now we're going to fast forward the next day, Saturday, here in the British Grand Prix qualifying, and excited for this one. Silverstone is a lot of fun. I really enjoy driving this circuit, even in the dank F122. I feel like I've just got a setup that's just hooked up to this track, and I'm able to just gel with the circuit really well. We had a bit of a fault at the beginning of the session, but it only took 1 lap, and it was right at the end of the session when I put myself into Q2. I actually replaced an engine part, so we spent a majority of just about the first 3/4 of the session in the actual garage there. So P11 though in Q1, not too bad. It wasn't really a great lap, so that made me feel even better about the pace that we had in this car. And now here we are in Q2, of course, trying to comfortably get ourselves into Q3 again. We've been stepping up our qualifying game this season compared to last season, but obviously the championship battle is what we're focused on with Max Verstappen as well as Oscar Piastri. Here we are though late in Q2, making a second lap for insurance, and we do get into Q3 quite comfortably again. So P5, our teammate of Piastri, P3, and Red Bull lockout there up in the top 2, but you can see Zhou, Stroll, Schumacher among the few out, Alonso as well. But here we are at Q3. 1 lap is all we're gonna get in Q3. I only had 1 fresh set of softs remaining here now, so all the marbles in the bag on this lap right here as we head down through this first sector. And a little bit of a rough apex right there. Could have gotten through there better, but overall it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty decent start to the lap here. Now it says purple on the track map, only green on the top right, so I'm not sure which one to actually believe at this point here, but you can see us overall having a decent lap here in Q3. I was thinking that this is probably, so far, I reckon, a top 5 lap, and we go green there in Sector 2, so I know it's not going to be pole unless we have some kind of monster Sector 3, which just simply did not happen. I was a little bit conservative right there into the left-hander, got through the penultimate corner pretty well, and we're going to get through the final turn okay as well. To the line, it's going to be, I think, it's P2 in the British Grand Prix on the front row, and who is it going to be alongside? It's Max Verstappen on pole, Piastri in 3rd, so I think that might be the first time we've actually out-qualified Piastri this season. Hamilton, Perez rounding out the top 5. We got a fun Grand Prix on the way. It's going to be an interesting one. Last season it didn't go how we wanted. Let's see how this one goes. Let's go to the grid.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship. And that record extends further for today's Grand Prix. Straddling the border of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, the 18 corners of Silverstone Circuit form the 3.6-mile beating heart of Formula One. It's been reinvented over the years, with Turn 1 now the fast right-hander of Abbey, but the magic of racing is as strong here as it's ever been. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Golden Boy completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, Ocon, and Kevin Magnussen, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, and Stroll, Joe, Norris, Alex Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda, Shwartzman and Nicholas Latifi, That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once more by Anthony Davidson. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Here we are then, ready to go racing in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. It's a soft to medium strategy that we're actually going to be doing. I missed something very important here that I'll talk about after, but you can see Piastri's also on softs and several others are as well. Let's get ready to go racing.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Okay, mate, we have the softs on, so try to attack Verstappen off the line.
Yes, sir, 10-4. I like that idea. Our goal then to attack Verstappen off the grid here once we go lights out now, as we are just all now getting to our grid slots here. Verstappen on pole, myself second, Piastri in third, Hamilton, Perez fourth, fifth. You see the Williams Porsche lining up at the back of the grid behind the Audi Sport F1 car now, as we of course saw Robert Shwartzman in the news recently for that Audi team, but nonetheless we are ready to get racing here from Britain. It's going to be lights out, we're underway in Silverstone, and it's a slow start for myself and Piastri. Look at Hamilton on the mediums, he just split through both of us. It's the Hamilton of old back here in Silverstone, his home Grand Prix. He just went from fourth to second in one turn, and myself and Piastri on the soft tires, we should have the advantage. Well, we got caught napping hard right there. Perez side by side with the Ferrari right there, Charles Leclerc. They're going to battle it out side by side here now as they head down this quick run towards that left-hander into that sweeping right-hand carousel. But not a good start for myself, not a good start either for Oscar Piastri. So McLaren Chevrolet here got some work to do after the opening moments of this Grand Prix now. As you can see, George Russell in between Perez and now Carlos Sainz, and then of course you got the Alpines there trying to work their way forwards now. But yeah, pretty frustrated about this opening lap start here in Silverstone now, but we got time of course to try and make up for the ground that we just gave up here, and you can see myself now settling into that fourth position, 0.6 of a second or so, 0.7, 0.8 almost behind my teammate of Oscar Piastri. Leclerc not far behind there, only 0.4 back, but he was in a battle with Perez, and Sergio Perez actually would get ahead of him. So Perez takes over fifth again. Leclerc drops down to P6 and over a second and a half behind actually now, as you can see. Settled in to this fourth position, but I was struggling a little bit on grip here now, and I'm struggling to close the gap in on Oscar Piastri. And what I was not aware of, if you remember in the Australian Grand Prix, we started on the soft tire. What I did not know was the soft tires were already worn to start the Grand Prix. Well, we started this Grand Prix on softs. The exact same thing has happened. And that completely explains why I have no pace on these softs, because they're worn. Look on the right side, you're going to see the tire icon right there. It comes up. That's when I realized officially, lap 4, what had happened here now. So you're going to see me check, and sure enough, yeah, 60% on the front tires. What are we doing here? So Perez now was running me down. He goes up for the inside move. I let him have it, and I said, we got to make an emergency pit stop. I'm coming into the box right here. We're going to do the same strategy as original, which is put on the medium compound tire and just hope for the best. So we're going to put on the mediums. We did this on Australia, and it worked okay. So we just got to make sure that we don't speed, which we did not. So we're okay. We're going to put on the mediums now and get back rolling. But obviously the damage is already done again, just like Australia. Starting the race on worn softs, and I wasn't even thinking about that before we started the Grand Prix. I saw the strategy. I took it. I was like, okay, I like that. Getting aggressive here to go after the Red Bulls, but we can't go after them when our tires are really worn. So yeah, we gotta of course put in the quickest laps possible on these mediums, while we of course have this advantage of a fresh set and everybody else is already on those medium compound tires. There is some drivers on the softs, including our teammate of Oscar Piastri, who on lap 7 comes under attack from Perez. I think he is in the same boat as us. He's struggling on these softs, and I think his tires were worn to start the Grand Prix as well, based off his pace, which has been uncharacteristic so far in this Grand Prix, and he's still side by side with Perez. Now, they're not going to give it up here. Now, this is crucial points for Piastri, who's in the big fight with Max Verstappen for the championship, and so are we, especially after if we can get a good result here today. Now, Leclerc trying to get alongside Norris. He's going to maybe lunge when he is going to lunge when he locks up big contact there, and the front wing is completely torn off of Piastri's McLaren Chevrolet. 3 wide, Russell on the far outside, but the short end of the stick goes to Piastri, and suddenly McLaren Chevrolet is in shambles here over the last few laps now, and Piastri obviously on the softs is going to have to come into the pits and repair the front wing. But fortunately for him, other drivers were pitting on the softs, but unfortunately for him, he is at the very back of the group, and I was now past that group and past Piastri. So here I am, lap 10, and unfortunately one thing that was concerning is I couldn't go quicker than the quickest lap put down so far on these fresh mediums, so that was a bit concerning that my pace just maybe wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be here. But we would cycle out through after the drivers on medium started to pit, like Max Verstappen behind him by about 6 seconds. So we are in a net P2 by setting really quick laps on those medium tires. So everybody else around us, they're going to be on hards. And you can see it right here. Perez signs into the pit. So sure enough, we move through into second place. Hamilton back by 2.5 seconds. But yeah, Verstappen's 5 seconds up the road. And I'm still putting in the quickest laps I possibly can. And we actually do a purple sector 1. This is now over 10 laps since we put on these mediums. And then we're going to back it up with a purple sector 2. Gap down to 4.8 seconds. Suddenly, we have found something. We found the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 128.2. It took 11 laps on these mediums to find it, but we did. However, unfortunately, it was short-lived because as soon as I went and did that, the pace kind of started to level out on my mediums compared to Verstappen's hards, and I couldn't really close in over the next couple of laps here. As you can see, fast-forwarding to lap 17, that gap had expanded now to 5.4 seconds. Hamilton on a podium right now. I mean, when's the last time Lewis Hamilton was on the podium? I mean, he's had such a rough season and a half now, I guess you could say. It's been forever since we've seen him go to the top step of the podium for a race victory. That start was the Hamilton of old, and it would be really cool to see him get a podium after what a mega start he had. Piastri has currently rebounded into P10 here after that big damage with the contact with Charles Leclerc. Pierre Gasly just behind him, currently in P11 there, followed by Kevin Magnussen in the Haas, Yuki Tsunoda in the Aston Martin, and then the battle behind them is starting to pick up here. Alex Albon scrapping it out in the Williams Porsche with Mick Schumacher as well as Shwartzman. Look at this move right here. Schumacher goes past Shwartzman, lunges one up the inside of Albon, not going to quite work out. Now he's back under attack from Shwartzman here. Shwartzman picking up those penalty points from the FIA, obviously needs to be a little bit careful with what he's doing right here, and hopefully we don't see him reversing across the track. He's just, of course, lucky that he didn't pick himself up a race ban. And look at that, Brew Cops, really, really close right there. Schumacher, though, I think is going to hang on. Yes, he will. But now there's another battle right at the back here. That's Stroll going at it with Lando Norris there. Now, Stroll going against his father's own team, but it looks like he's going to come out on top of that battle. Nicholas Latifi at the back of the grid now as we settle in here in the second place, 5.9 seconds off.
Okay, stand by. We see a problem our end, and we're looking into it.
Alright, well, let's see what happens with that. We potentially have an issue here. Running second place, 4.3 seconds ahead of Perez, who's gotten past Lewis Hamilton, who's down to 4th place here now. But now it's just a wait and see. Over the next probably, I would say, 10 to 15 seconds, we're going to find out if this is a race-ending issue or not. If it's a race-ending issue, it might be the nail in the coffin and take us out of the championship battle. We're about to find out here any second, I'm sure. There it is. That's the worst-case scenario. It's over. Our race is over, and maybe the championship as well, unless we go on an absolutely spectacular 4-race tear. But that is going to be it in the British Grand Prix. We were running P2. We rebounded nicely. This is a track that has not treated me greatly in recent seasons, and once again, it strikes today. our day is over in Britain, unfortunately, now. So that's extremely unfortunate there. It's still going to be Max Verstappen as well picking up the race victory, which is also not what we personally want to see. Not for myself, not for Oscar Piastri, and not for McLaren Chevrolet. Lewis Hamilton on the podium. It's awesome to see that here now. But yeah, Max Verstappen will extend his championship gap, unfortunately. When things were looking really good after that win in Canada, we come to Britain and are running P2, and that happens. Like I said, that might be the nail in the coffin, and that might be the end of our run for a championship. Let's take a look at the standings, of course, and see what the damage is. Yeah, we're 68 points behind Max Verstappen. Piastri's up by 24. He's still very much in that battle, and in the constructors, we're back by 23 from Red Bull. So even if we can't win the Drivers' Championship because of our luck of 2 mechanical failures, we can still help the team win the constructors. But we're going to the summer break, actually, and then we'll be back in Spa. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.